Good morning, good night, evening, afternoon, whatever, wherever you are watching this film. How are you? Now, I want to know, very recently, and I mean like very recently, like 30, 40 minutes ago, like after I did the video for Deadpool and how it impacted art and how it impacted the superhero genre, and how it's the impact of it, and how it's okay to make like it's okay to make like R-rated superhero movies. Like, it's like after I did that review, I wanted to do another like similar video. So instead of looking into the future, I took a moment, I took a step back and looked in the past. I dig through it and I found Iron Man 3. Now, you guys know my opinions of Iron Man 3. I have mixed feelings of Iron Man 3. I loved the first Iron Man. I did not like I was disappointed in Iron Man 2, and I have mixed feelings. There were some great moments in this movie, Iron Man 3. There were some great moments, like amazing, like emotional moments. There's also some decisions and things that I also did not like and did not agree with, like, for example, the villain and how it was portrayed. But I'm not going to get into it. If you want to see my review for Iron Man 3, you can look it up on my YouTube channel. I did a review for it in spoilers, so go find it, check it out, and enjoy. But this video is going to be talking about the basically the themes and and me analyzing this film and what it actually means, breaking it down. So sit back and relax, because we're going to be talking about what Iron Man 3 really means. So Iron Man 3, this movie focuses on, consequence. And by consequence, I mean the consequences of the U.S. foreign policy, which which includes all the bureaus and offices in the United States Department of State, as mentioned in the foreign policy agenda of the Department of State, are to build and sustain a more democratic, secure, and prosperous world for the benefit of the American people and the international community. I was just quoting there. So, like the first Iron Man film, it's all about one thing: the military-industrial complex, which describes the relationship between a country's military and the defense industry that supplies it, seen together as a vested interest which influences public policy. A driving factor behind the relationship between the military and the defense-minded corporations is that both sides benefit, one side from obtaining war weapons and the other from being paid to supply them. And you definitely see that, and you definitely see that with, Obadiah Stane, and also Obadiah Stane, and then, the Ten Rings, Jeff Bridges, Obadiah Stane, and, the Ten Rings terrorist organizations, their relationship with each other. It definitely hinders towards that. The main antagonist of this film is I almost said Aldrich Killian. Yeah, his name is Adrian. No. I was so close to saying Adrian. I don't know why, but Aldrich Killian, played by Guy Pearce, who is such a terrific actor. See Memento. If you did not see Memento, you got to see Memento, which is directed by Christopher Nolan, one of my favorite. He's actually my number one favorite movie directors out there. But you got to see that movie. But anyway. Guy Pearce plays Aldrich Killian, who tries to take over the United States government and capitalize on the war on terror, which is an ongoing international counterterrorism military campaign initiated by the United States following the 9/11 attacks. So yeah, so that's for people who um, don't know what war on terror means. With a decoy villain actor, the Mandarin, played by in a movie Ben Kingsley, the supposed looming menace that distracts the public from Killian's actions with a narrative of the constant threat that also makes the war profitable. Using Stark as a metaphor of American society, Charlie James Anders of Gizmodo of Gizmodo notes that the film differs in the portrayal of the country from the previous two entries of the Iron Man franchise, whereas the previous films were about the guilt of ruining areas in foreign countries. Iron Man 3 is about the feeling of powerlessness in that a trusted, wealthy, and individualistic celebrity like Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., is unable to find a powerful powerful terrorist such as the Mandarin. And for me, that what he and that note that he stated really, it's it's the biggest themes. What he said, in that statement, in that very in that statement, and that note is filled with so many themes. Like, if you think about it, yeah, I mean, Iron Man 3, there is a feeling of powerlessness. You know, Tony Stark, he doesn't have his armor. He doesn't have Jarvis. He doesn't have his armor, his technology. He's like hanging out with a little kid named Harley. Um, but and yeah, but of course, because of the narrative and the structure of the film, he is able to get all of his technology back towards the end of the finale, towards the end of the movie. So yeah. So speaking of the Mandarin is a cover-up adversary that is otherwise non-threatening to take on Americans' xenophobia towards Middle Eastern, and how people's fear is taken advantage of to create and pass harmful policies. The Mandarin's characteristics are what the population expects from a terrorist, such as a large beard, army pants, and comments he gives to the media that condemn the United States. The twist that the Mandarin is fake also plays on audiences' availability heuristics that make them think if someone is a danger or not. So yeah, I mean, there are some, I mean, in that in that paragraph, in that statement, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, there are, for me, I feel like there are so many people out there, if there's one thing, xenophobia is something, it's still going, by the way. Like, it's still going. It's like it's the fear or hatred, for those who don't know what xenophobia is. It is the fear or hatred of anything which is perceived as being foreign or strange. Um, you know, it manifests in suspicions by one of the other activities, a desire to eliminate their presence, and fear of losing national ethic or racial identity. Xenophobia leads to racism. Involves racisms. It also involves stereotypes, like I read in this article. A stereotype, towards Middle Eastern, which is like the beard, the pants, the army pants, and the comment that he made towards the media, the news, that really paints the picture, paints this cover-up picture that the United States see. And, in real life, we're still facing xenophobia. We're still facing racism. It's stereotypes. It's still going on because, it's a human thing. it's a human thing and we can't get rid of it. It's stuck. It's stuck with us from now until forever. So yeah, Iron Man 3 is also part of a trend in post 9/11 superhero films consisting of vulnerable, weak superheroes and complex antagonists with realistic motivations. Psychologist, and author Dr. Travis Langley believed Tony Stark meets all of the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. And Tony Stark, like those with PTSD in real life, denies he could have it. Stark enacts its symptoms. So he has all the symptoms of PTSD, and all this trauma, this depression, all these symptoms, such as anxiety attacks, frequent nightmares, and an inability to be in public. This deviates from most portrayals of not only superheroes but also strong male leads in general, where they are not traumatized from perilous situations. So 9/11 was a very tragic. We all know how tragic and sad a lot of people, and I mean so many people, still remember it to this day. The horrific event when that plane crashed through the building. And I remember at the time I was just a little baby. 9/11, I was just 1 years old. I was 1 years old. I was just a little baby, and a little baby infant, and a lot of people have lost so many friends and family to that horrific event. And there are people out there who are just like Tony Stark, who are suffering from these these trauma, these events, whether it's 9/11, whether it's a terrorist attack, or coming back from war, like soldiers. I'm not, I can't speak for everyone. I'm not a soldier. I don't know anyone. I don't have any friends or family. I don't know anyone in my family, in my friends, that was that was drafted in the war. But I can only imagine the horrific events and the consequences and the aftermath of what these psychological things can affect a human being's minds. I'm just ranting on. But anyway, yeah, let me ask you a question. What do you think about this, about everything that I said in this video? Were there, really dig into it too. I know there are people, like I said, who are still suffering from PTSD. I know there are, xenophobias everywhere. There's a lot of political and war things, events and acts that's going on. And let me know what you thought about all of this. Thank you so much for taking your time to listening to my video. And I will see all of you lovely people really soon.